Chapter 871. On the top floor of the Imperial State Building, a man was smashing the entire tea set before him. His assistant stood before him and reported fearfully, "The estimated losses from this incident is at $18.7 billion. The cost of acquiring the cruise ship and its furnishings was over $5 billion. The assets on the ship, including weapons, medical equipment, goods, and antiques, were worth nearly $20 billion. Other than the monetary losses, we also lost our customers. Where's Flora? We didn't find her body on the ship. She must have been taken. Many of your customers are asking for compensation. The total amount is also in the billions. What should we do, boss?" The man was furious. "Ignore them. But won't we incur the wrath of the masses if we don't compensate them? Do you think they would board one of our ships again even if we paid them?" The assistant fell silent for a bit before saying, "No, they won't. Most of the people who board the Cherno are a sanctimonious lot. Would they really come to us to demand compensation? The people demanding compensation are mostly gangsters. Those people get their money illegally. They won't be satisfied even if we pay them. So, why should we waste the money and effort on them? It's not like they'd do business with us again." The assistant closed the folder and said, "We've suffered heavy losses this time, boss. What should we do?" The man looked at a photo of a woman before him and replied, "She's the one who caused this incident. We'll end it with her." Olivia was wearing a thick down jacket as she walked with Alicia in the commercial district. The winter in Aldenvine came early, as usual. It would snow half of the time during winter. The snowflakes danced in the sky. It looked pretty and romantic. Alicia had a scarf wrapped around her neck, and she was wearing a hat. She reached out to catch a "Mom, snow, pretty." Olivia looked at her tenderly. The lights on the street were shining brightly. Alicia smiled as she walked in the snow. Everything seemed perfect. In the past few years, Olivia would be depressed whenever she thought about her child. But her daughter had finally returned to her side. Alicia's presence gave her hope for the future. Her life wasn't gloomy anymore. Christmas songs were being played on the streets. Olivia was amazed by how quickly time passed. Another year had passed, and Christmas was just around the corner. Olivia had booked a slot with the bank. Luckily, Ethan didn't terminate her account after her faked death. All the money was still in her account. The amount even increased significantly due to the interest generated in the past few years and her investments growing exponentially. Olivia looked at the balance in her account. She could live the rest of her life comfortably without having to work. She was prepared for Ethan to find her once she performed the large sum transfer the next day. She figured that she might not even be able to leave the bank. But she couldn't care less. She wasn't about to let Keith incur such a huge loss for her. She had also called Everly in advance. Her fake death had devastated Everly. "Mom." Alicia tugged at Olivia's hand. Olivia looked at her lovingly and said, "Baby, we'll meet Aunt Eve in a bit. She's my best friend. Be sure to say hi when you see her, okay?" "Okay." What Olivia didn't know was that Everly was standing on the roof of a 108th floor building. The snow was swirling around her. There was a group of people behind her. "Miss Hilton, please calm down. Mr. Cinder is on his way back. You can tell him your demands. He'll definitely give you what you want." Everly was wearing a very thin nightgown. There were tears streaming down her pale face. "I want my baby. Can he give me my baby back? Miss Hilton, please come over here. We can talk this out." "Talk? My ass, tell Henry I'll haunt him for the rest of his life." Everly jumped after she said that. Chapter 872. The bodyguard rushed toward Everly and was able to grab her hand in time. "Miss Hilton, please don't do this. We won't be able to answer to Mr. Cinder if you die." "Fuck off. I don't care about that. I'll never be his match when I'm alive. I'll definitely haunt him and all of you after I die." Everly's voice was very loud. It didn't sound like she was a dying person at all. "I'm even wearing pure white clothes. I'll turn into the scariest ghost there is. Boy, you better not wake up at night, or I'll scare you to death." The bodyguard was rendered speechless. It was supposed to be a serious situation, but he almost burst out in laughter. Why was Everly so funny even when she was trying to die? Laugh if you want to. You don't have to hold it in. Stop joking, Miss Hilton. I will not let you die. Young man, do you know what's one thing you can never control? Death, Everly said with a composed expression. No. Stocks. Miss Hilton, that's not a very funny joke. What about this? Let go of me at the count of 3. I'm not going to do that. I have a little bit of cash stowed away in my bag. Let me go, and you have half of it. Use the other half to buy me flowers at my funeral. The bodyguard shook his head. I can't do that, Miss Hilton. If Mr. Cinder finds out that I did that, he will kill me as well. Do you have a big appetite? I guess I have a normal appetite. Then I don't mind. You can be my bodyguard in the afterlife as well. At least we won't be lonely that way. The group of people that were standing behind them didn't know how to react to the conversation. Suddenly, a phone rang, and it ended the conversation. Miss Hilton, it's your phone. It must be that bastard Henry. I'm not taking that call. Just tell him I'm dead. I'll talk to him at night. No, it's not Mr. Cinder. It's an unknown caller. Then it must be an insurance salesperson. Tell him it's too late. I'm dying soon. Insurance won't be of any use. Why would anyone try to sell you insurance at this hour? It must be someone important. Everly yelled at him. Why would I not record an important person's number? If it's not an insurance salesperson, it must be my landlord asking for rent. I won't be paying rent. I'm dying soon, anyway. Ask him to get the money at my grave. The bodyguard was getting desperate because Everly wasn't listening to him at all. He had no idea how Henry was able to keep her under control. The bodyguard took the call and put it on speaker. A woman's voice rang out. Eve, are you there? Everly's eyes widened when she heard the voice. Say, do you guys think I'm hallucinating? Why am I hearing the voices from the afterlife when I'm still alive? What afterlife? Eve, where are you? It's me. I'm not dead, Olivia said anxiously. Everly looked at the bodyguard and asked, did you hear what she said? The bodyguard didn't care who was on the other end of the phone. He noticed that Everly got very excited, so he quickly answered, she said she isn't dead. She asked you where you are. And, what afterlife? Chapter 873. Everly glared at the bodyguard. Do you think I'm an idiot? Why would you think I need you to recount everything she said? The bodyguard complained inwardly. It was so troublesome trying to communicate with Everly. Olivia noticed something was off. Eve, where are you? Who are you talking to? Everly didn't know how Olivia came back to life. But since she was still alive, Everly decided that life was worth living again. At least she didn't want Olivia to worry about her. It's nothing. I was just talking to my new bodyguard. Liv, you may not know yet, but I've been living the high life since you were gone. I bring 8 bodyguards wherever I go. All of them are very well built. I'm glad to hear that. I'd hate it if your life were miserable. Of course. Life is good. I'm staying at a villa and driving around in expensive cars. I finally got a taste of the life of a rich person. Although Everly was talking with a smile, Olivia could still sense it. Are you crying? Everly looked at the swirling snow and smiled in resignation. I'm just crying tears of joy since I just discovered you are still alive. I'm allowed that much, right? The bodyguard took this chance to pull Everly up with some help. She slumped into the snow. She felt pitiful even though she was surrounded by people. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she said, Liv, I miss you. Olivia didn't know what was going on with Everly. She thought Everly was actually crying tears of joy. We'll meet at the usual spot. I have a surprise for you. Okay, when will you be here? In half an hour. Wait, no, I'll be there in an hour. I'm rich now. I need some time to make myself presentable. Okay, we'll meet in an hour. It's a date. Everly hung up before the bodyguard could say anything. She said, how do I look? The bodyguard answered honestly, like a pretty ghost. Fuck you. Everly ran off without looking back. The bodyguard chased after her. Miss Hilton, you're not going to jump off another building, are you? Didn't you hear? I have a date with my best friend. Tell that bastard Henry that I'm heading out. If he insists on keeping me inside, I'll slit my wrists. The bodyguard was at a loss for words. He didn't understand why Henry would fall for such a headstrong woman. All right, I'll report to Mr. Cinder right away. Henry took the call and sighed in relief when he confirmed that Everly was safe. Let her go. Don't agitate her for now. Send someone to tail her. Understood, Mr. Cinder. She loves money. Take that sapphire collector item from my collection and give it to her. Yes, sir. Everly rushed back to her room and looked in the mirror. She didn't look like a pretty ghost. She was more like a malnourished, vengeful spirit. She didn't want Olivia to see her like this. So, she went to take a quick shower and started to put on some blush and eyeshadow. She even picked out a bold, red lipstick. Then, she put on an extravagant mink coat before leaving. Miss Hilton, we'll be escorting you to your destination. Mr. Cinder's orders. Everly wasn't in the mood to start another fight. Her mind was filled with her memories of Olivia. Was she doing well? They hadn't met for so long. When she thought about it, she knew Olivia's life couldn't have been easy. She was with Ethan, after all. There was no way he didn't make her life hard. Then, Everly thought about herself. Her life wasn't that awesome, either. They were very similar in that aspect. She quickly went to the cafe they both loved in their university days. Olivia and Alicia were standing at the door. Even though Olivia was covered in a thick down jacket, she still looked slender. There was a child standing next to her. Tears streamed down Everly's face when she met Olivia's gaze. Chapter 874. Everly rushed toward Olivia even though she was wearing heels. Then, she wrapped her arms around Olivia. Liv, I was so worried about you. I thought you were really sorry. The circumstances were dire at the time. Everly hugged her tightly. Why have you lost so much weight? Have you been eating at all? You're all skin and bones. Olivia pinched Everly's cheek and said, I lost weight. What about you? You're so skinny, too. Have you been busy with work? A hint of awkwardness flashed in Everly's eyes. That's for sure. I've moved up the corporate ladder. Surprising, right? I've always known you could do it. They remained in each other's arms for a while more as they reminisced. Then, Everly finally turned her attention to Alicia. She didn't need an introduction from Olivia. It was clear that Alicia resembled Ethan. Hi, Auntie Eve, Alicia greeted her obediently. Everly's heart almost melted when she looked at her. Good girl. Come, let me give you a hug. Alicia reached out, wrapped her hands around Everly's neck, and placed her head on her shoulder. Tears streamed down Everly's face as she held Alicia in her arms. When she saw Everly crying so profusely, Olivia felt like something was wrong. Are you okay, Eve? Everly came back to her senses and started to wipe her tears frantically. I'm okay. I'm just too excited after seeing you. God, I'm so emotional right now. The tears just won't stop flowing. It's cold out here. Let's take a seat inside. All right. We don't want our little cutie here to catch a cold. Everly seemed to like kids a lot. She kept Alicia in her arms the whole time. After they entered the cafe, Everly helped Alicia take off her scarf and hat. Did you feel cold, baby? Look at that cute little nose, red from the cold. You're so cute. What do you want to eat? It's my treat today. Olivia scanned her surroundings and said, It's been so long since we last came here. The owner didn't change, but the decor changed quite drastically. Yeah, in this world, even people have to change to adapt, much less these inanimate objects. Sitting here, I'm really starting to miss our glory days. The cafe was close to a university. So, university students passed by the corner frequently despite the cold weather. There were youthful and lively smiles on their faces. They were pure and untainted. You haven't told me what happened after you faked your death. Where did your child come from? Olivia began to retell the events of everything that happened. Everly's jaw dropped when she heard the entire story. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she grabbed Olivia's arm when she heard that Olivia had almost died from cancer. You've been through so much, Liv. Olivia smiled and said, Don't worry. It's all behind me now. I even got my daughter back. I am content. What about you? How has life been for you? Me, I'm doing very well. You know me. I'm very straightforward with my feelings. I'll never mistreat myself. I've gotten a raise and a promotion. I'm living my best life. Everly had a carefree smile on her face. She hid her troubles very masterfully. Have you ever thought about getting married? Don't tell me you're still hung up on Josh after so many years. Everly realized it had been so long since her last relationship after Olivia brought Josh up. Why would I be hung up on a punk like that? I have the money to be the sugar mommy for a dozen hunks. I don't need his scrawny ass. I'm pretty and successful. We women really have to focus on our careers. Obsessing over love is not the way to live. Olivia smiled when she heard Everly say that. Are you talking about me? I think you're talking about me. Chapter 875. Upon meeting again, Olivia seemed more cheerful than before. She would even crack a joke or two. Everly patted her on the head. You've finally put that relationship behind you. I'm so happy for you. That's right. I used to feel like my life was a living hell. Every day was torture for me. Ever since I was reunited with my child, it was like a fog had lifted. Life was worth living again. Everly stared at Olivia with envy in her eyes. That's nice. You're not getting any younger. Have you not met anyone you wanted to date? Olivia asked that question because she noticed that Everly seemed like she loved children. She seemed to sense that Everly felt uneasy when she brought that up. Everly would try to change the subject quickly every time. Although I'm as beautiful as ever, and countless people want to be with me. But I'm too busy. I have no time for relationships. Olivia smiled. So, should I be honored that a busy person like yourself took the time to meet with me? We're such good friends. I'll make time to see you even if I'm going to kill myself. Don't say that. You're still as unhinged as ever. Don't you know these things might come true if you keep saying them? Why have you become so superstitious after I've not seen you in a couple of years? I seem to remember you saying you never believed in things like that. Olivia picked up her cup of warm tea and took a couple of sips. That was because I was young. I thought I would be able to change the world. I've succumbed to reality time and again. I've come to realize my insignificance. No matter how hard I try, I won't be able to change my fate. We're still so young. Why are we talking like old geezers? Everly asked as she propped her face with her hand. I guess this is the price of growing up. Tell me the truth. What are you planning to do next? Olivia said in a resigned tone. I want to pay Keith back. But Ethan would know you're alive if you do that. Everly's expression turned serious when the topic was brought up. No, he should have already known that Olivia was still alive. So many people witnessed Olivia's phone call to her. Henry also knew she was coming to meet Olivia. If he knew, Ethan would also know. I don't care if he knows. If that's my fate, I accept it. Everly looked at Olivia with a pained expression. She knew how hard Olivia's life had been. Let's not dwell on these unhappy memories on the day of our reunion. Come, let's raise a toast to our reunion. Everly raised her cup of tea and said, okay. Let's get wasted tonight. They smiled as they looked at each other. It was like they were back in their university days again. But both of them knew those days were behind them. Olivia asked, puzzled, I thought you loved iced beverages. When did you start drinking warm ones? Everly scratched her head and said, I let myself go too much in the past. I used to drink cold beverages in the winter. It would hurt very badly when my period comes. I'm not getting any younger, so I'm trying to take care of my health now. Look, I even carry a flask of herbal tea around. You should have made this change long ago. I've been telling you not to drink so many iced beverages. You've finally learned your lesson. I guess you have to learn from experience. Everly put a hand on her stomach subconsciously. A complicated glint flashed in her eyes. I won't make this mistake again. I've learned my lesson. Chapter 876. Olivia and Everly drank tea, walked around the mall, and watched a movie. It was just like old times. They cherished the time they had together. Alicia yawned when the movie ended. Joshua drove an Audi A8 over and asked, Miss Fordham, do you want to head home now? Olivia looked at him in confusion. Where did you get the car? I rented it. It's pretty cheap for such a good car. Miss Alicia is falling asleep. I figured that it would be troublesome for you to take the bus. Hurry up and get in. It's very cold outside. Olivia beckoned for Everly to get in the car. Alicia had already fallen asleep in her arms. Joshua placed their bags in the trunk and asked, "Where is this lady headed?" Everly replied hesitantly. Olivia asked, "Are you still living at Azure Oasis?" "Yeah, same place." Everly nodded. "All right, sit tight." The snow was getting heavier outside. There were fewer people on the street. Olivia noticed that Everly would often space out, but she would say she was fine every time Olivia asked her about it. Olivia knew something had happened to her. They had been friends since high school, and Olivia understood her too well. If something could cause a carefree woman like Everly to avoid talking about it and space out during conversations, it had to be related to a man. It was likely that this man was not someone she could talk about, or their relationship needed to be kept a secret. Back then, when Everly managed to get Josh to become her boyfriend, it was like she wanted the whole world to know. Olivia couldn't force her to speak up if she didn't want to talk about it. The car pulled up in Everly's neighborhood. She feigned a smile and said, "I'll take my leave here. Your daughter is asleep. You should go home as soon as possible. It's almost Christmas. Do you want to hang out?" A hint of disappointment flashed on Everly's face. "I'll confirm with you later. I might be busy." "Okay, then you should save my new phone number. Call me when you're free." "Okay, goodbye." Olivia closed the door. Through the rearview mirror, she could see Everly looking at her on the side of the road. It pained Olivia to see Everly like that. She finally understood why Everly looked at her like that back then. They were adults. They could only endure the misfortune that befell them quietly. They couldn't express their emotions freely like kids anymore. Even as a bystander, they could only watch. They couldn't do anything, even if it pained them. Everly walked away after Olivia's car was out of sight. Olivia said coldly, "Turn back." "What? Just do as I say. Drive slowly." "Understood." Olivia saw another car at Everly's place. It was a silver Spiker. A tall and elegant man got out of the car. Olivia was shocked. How could it be him? It was a man she only met briefly before. Henry Cinder, Everly's employer. Olivia would understand why Everly wanted to keep her relationship a secret if it were him. A taboo relationship between an assistant and her employer was indeed not something she would want to tell others. But if they truly loved each other, they could overcome any difficulties. Henry said something to Everly, and it made her very agitated. She ran to the flower bed and picked up a brick. She looked determined to fight him to the death. Henry took the brick from her and pulled her into his arms. He pressed her against the car and kissed her. The snow kept falling around them. The brick also dropped to the ground. There were tears flowing down her face, but she didn't push him away. Olivia looked away and said, "Let's go." Everly had fallen for him. But in a relationship, the one who falls in love first would always end up losing. Chapter 877. Olivia remained silent on the way back. She kept thinking about the days when she and Everly were students. If they had known what would happen to them, would they have cherished their happiness more? Joshua helped carry Alicia out of the car when they got home. Olivia didn't head indoors straight away. She stood under the street lamp and looked at the swirling snow while deep in thought. "I know you're here." A person walked out from behind the street lamp. Ethan looked at her from afar and said, "I told you I won't disrupt your life." They looked at each other in silence. Olivia tried to look into his eyes, but she realized she couldn't discern the emotions within. "Thank you for that night." It didn't matter what happened between them. If he didn't find a way to get the money to save her, she would be doomed if she fell into the hands of those people. "It was my fault for letting them get to you, Miss Fordham." He seemed to have stood there for some time. There was a layer of snow on his shoulders and his head. Olivia slowly walked toward him. Ethan felt a little uneasy. He wasn't sure if Olivia had figured out his true identity. He didn't know what she would do if she knew. It was a quiet night with no one walking around. A thick layer of snow quickly formed on the roads. Olivia's steps made a crunching sound as she walked on the snow. Ethan's heartbeat quickened as she approached him. Olivia walked up to him and patted the snow on his shoulders. "What was she?" "I've already made an appointment. I'll be going to the bank tomorrow." "What are you planning to do there, Miss Fordham?" "Give me your account number. I'll pay you for your services in this period of time." Ethan lowered his head. "So you no longer need me, Miss Fordham?" He'll find me when I use the money. I won't be able to escape then. He won't let you off, Logan. Run, run as far away as you can. Ethan finally realized how much he had traumatized Olivia. He was like the devil to her, always lurking. He's still in Buckburg now. Besides, you've pretended to be dead for so long. He wouldn't find you so easily. You're not safe now, Miss Fordham. You need my protection. Don't worry, I'll hide in the shadows. I won't appear in your life and cause you trouble. Olivia sighed when she saw his meek expression. I've made up my mind. She didn't want to drag Logan into her mess. Miss Fordham, find someplace safe and live your life to the fullest. Find a good woman and marry her. If I still have a future, I'll look forward to meeting you again. Olivia smiled at him gently. Logan, you're a good man. Our relationship ends here. I'll take care of myself from now on. Olivia walked away without looking back after she said that. Miss Fordham, have you ever fallen for me? Even a little, he called out from behind. Olivia stopped and looked at the footprints she left on the ground. No, never. I'm sorry. I will never fall in love again. Ethan watched as she walked away in the snow. He felt a pang in his heart. She had turned him away again. There was no way they could be together. Olivia walked away resolutely. She hoped that Logan could forget about her and start his own life. As for herself, she could only press on even if her path was strewn with thorns. Chapter 878. Olivia went back to her room. Alicia was already fast asleep. She wiped her down with a warm towel. As she left the room, she noticed Logan standing under the street lamp. He stood there like a fool, looking in her direction. Why would he do something so pointless? The longing for unrequited love would always cut deep. The frustration of love lost was soul-wrenching. Olivia drew the curtains after glancing at him. Since she could promise him anything, she wouldn't give him any false sense of hope. Joshua slowly walked to Ethan and said, Mr. Miller, you should go. Mrs. Miller is already asleep. I'll stay a little longer. Ethan stood in the snow and lit a cigarette. He stood still as the snow rained down on him. He left after the cigarette reached its end. The following day, Olivia entrusted Alicia to Joshua and went to the bank alone to make the transfers. She was prepared for the possibility that she won't even be able to leave the bank. The staff were very polite to her. They even prepared snacks in advance. The branch manager served her personally. He even escorted her to the exit after she was done. For a moment, it was like he was about to pile her with gifts. Olivia exited the bank. No one was waiting for her. Was she overthinking things? Did Ethan not send anyone? Or did he really accept the fact that she was dead? Standing amidst the snow, Olivia felt like she was pathetic. She hated it when he tried to control her, but she felt a hint of disappointment now that he had let go of her. It was fine. She had to move on from the past as well. Olivia went to visit her alma mater. She looked at the youthful faces of the students as she strolled through the campus. It was like she could see a reflection of her past self in them. A youthful voice rang beside her. Miss Olivia. The voice was a little shaky. Olivia turned to see a boy in the Aldenvine High uniform running toward her. The boy who used to be her height had grown a lot in the past few years. He was several inches taller than her already. Jerry always had a gentle and refined look. After gaining access to education, he appeared more cultured and graceful. It's been so long, Jerry. Olivia looked at the name tag on his chest. The name, Norman Miller, was printed on it. Ethan handled all the paperwork for Tom and Jerry after he brought them into the city. She didn't expect Ethan to give these two brothers his last name. Noticing Olivia's gaze on his name tag, Norman explained, Mr. Miller gave us these names. He said, people with the Miller name won't be bullied in Aldenvine. He gave you the names. Yeah, Tom is Silas Miller, and I'm Norman Miller. Miss Olivia, do you like our names? Olivia was shaken. Yeah, I like them. How have you two been these days? We're doing good. Mr. Miller knew I loved art and hired renowned artists to teach me. He even sent me to school. I've already caught up to kids my age. I even got a recommendation spot and a full scholarship. Olivia had to raise her hand to pat him on the head. I've always known you're a great artist. What about Tom? Him. He never liked writing or drawing. He likes fighting a lot, so Mr. Miller sent him to the police academy. He has been going out on missions since the year before. I can't get in contact with him when he's out on missions. I'm always so worried about him, but I can only support him since that is his passion. Norman scratched his head. By the way, Mr. Miller hasn't visited me in some time. Is he doing okay? Chapter 879. The innocent boy didn't know what happened in the past few years. Olivia said gently, he's out doing business overseas. Did he visit you frequently in the past? In the first 2 years, he would help me with my homework personally and look at my paintings. I haven't seen him much in the past 2 years. He must have been busy. The last time I saw him was around 6 months ago. He lost a lot of weight. Norman scratched his head. About that, Miss Olivia, I don't know how you feel about Mr. Miller. At first, I thought he was the worst person in the world. After I got to know him, I realized that he didn't like to talk much, but he is a thoughtful and responsible man. Olivia didn't want to talk about Ethan. So, she brought up the reason for visiting. Has Jack ever contacted you? Jack has always been elusive. He visited a few times when I started school, but I haven't seen him since then. Are you able to contact him? Norman shook his head. I have his old number, but it has been terminated. I don't know what he has been doing for the past 2 years. He hasn't come to visit me at all. Olivia was disappointed. Norman asked worriedly, Miss Olivia, did something happen? I have an important matter I need to talk to Jack about. If that's the case, why don't we return to the island and check? It's been a few years. Mr. Miller has developed the island into a beautiful place. He even set up a dedicated sea route and built new roads on the island. The fishermen also operate more systematically now. The place has changed a lot. You'll see when you go back with me. Is it okay for you to cut class? Olivia said as she looked at the other students in the distance with books. I'm already guaranteed a spot in university. Classes aren't that important for me. Let's go. I'll bring you to the island. Norman used to be a very reserved boy. He had changed a lot since. His personality improved a lot. He was no longer gloomy. Instead, he was very cheerful. When Olivia got to the island with Alicia, she was shocked by what she saw. In the past, the island didn't even have decent roads or enough electricity. The people on the island were still living off the land. Things had changed. The island had roads that led to all corners of the place. The roads were all paved with asphalt. Every household had electricity and Wi-Fi. Some of the run-down houses of the fishermen had been renovated, too. The island looked like paradise. It was romantic and scenic. Mr. Miller put a lot of thought into this. The islanders have different job options. They can either maintain their lifestyle as fishermen or go for one of the jobs Mr. Miller prepared for them. Everyone thinks life has gotten better. As soon as Olivia got on the island, some older ladies started to chat her up and gave Alicia some candy. It was all thanks to Olivia that their lives got better. The house she used to stay in was the biggest on the island. It had been transformed into a vacation home. There was even an infinity pool on the top floor with a great view of the sea. Tom and I would come back whenever we have time. Our new home is beautiful. We've kept your room for you, too, Miss Olivia. Mr. Miller knows you love cherry blossoms, so he planted thorn around the house. It looks amazing here from January to March. She could only imagine how beautiful the view was. Olivia wanted to leave Ethan, but she realized that he was already a part of every aspect of her life. Mom, Alicia tugged on her sleeve. Olivia raised her head and saw that there were a lot of ribbons on the cherry blossom tree in the yard. They fluttered in the wind. She picked one up and saw, "May my wife be safe," written on it. Chapter 880. She knew that handwriting very well. Ethan wrote it. There were at least 1,000 ribbons on the tree. Miss Olivia, Mr. Miller wrote all of these. I think he loves you very deeply. Olivia didn't reply to that. I'll go in and check on Martha. Martha looked younger. She felt more at ease as the days got better. She was very welcoming when she saw that Olivia had come. She went to the chicken coop and picked out a chicken. You're finally here, Olivia. You've lost so much weight. I'll cook this chicken for you. You have to eat it. Olivia couldn't say no, so, she went to the kitchen to help Martha prepare the food. Unexpectedly, the kitchen was completely modernized. Gone were the days when they couldn't even afford to eat meat. Martha, has Jack come back recently? As she prepared the ingredients, Martha said, I haven't seen him in a long time. But he would call me occasionally to let me know he's safe. Olivia's eyes lit up. How often do you get his calls? About once every 2 to 3 months. When was the last time he called you? I think it was a couple of months ago. Does that mean he will be contacting you soon? Martha, I have something important I need your help with. You don't have to be so polite. Our lives improved so much because of you. I'll help you out however I can. Olivia talked to Martha for a while more. She then settled down on the island. It was very safe here. She didn't have to risk coming in contact with strangers. She could hide from Ethan and the person who wanted her dead. The facilities on the island were very complete. She had no issues living there. Norman would bring Alicia all over the island to have fun every day. Alicia also liked the island a lot. Olivia watched the tide ebb and flow in the sun as it rose and set. She thought Ethan would find her very quickly, but she was wrong. There was a sense of unease in her heart. She would never know when he would come for her. Her phone rang. It was a call from Everly. She had tried to contact Everly the past few days. Everly never picked up her calls. Finally, a call from the busy Miss Hilton. Olivia knew about Everly's relationship with Henry. But she could only feign ignorance since Everly didn't bring it up. Everly's voice sounded happy and carefree. It sounded like there was nothing wrong with her. Where are you? Do you have time to meet up? Olivia asked. Everly looked at the snow outside her ward. She smiled bitterly and said, I'm afraid not. I'm still on a business trip in Estrana. When I return, I will treat you and your daughter to some good food. Okay, I'll be waiting. Olivia felt frustrated. Everly didn't want to talk to her about her situation, so she couldn't really help her out. Before she hung up, Olivia said, Eve, you have to take care of yourself. Everly was taken aback. Then, she smiled. Of course, I'll never mistreat myself. You have to take care of your health, too. By the way, has Ethan come looking for you? No. Why? Nothing. I was just asking. It's better that way. You can enjoy life more without him. My boss is calling for me. Have to go. Bye.